Why?
This thing hates you.
I know. I'm live. Here we go. No viewers. One viewer. Howdy, partner. What's your name? You can type it in the side. All right. I'm going to guess that you're Sergey. Let's get started, shall we? All right. So, hopefully we have no issues today like we did last week. Thanks for joining in. Last week we started with like some neck and shoulder stuff. We're going to go ahead and do more of that stuff today. All right. So I have 2 tennis balls, more so just to show directionality of my arms. You can use tennis balls or towels just to grip onto, but not necessary. I'm also sitting on 2 yoga blocks. That is just personal preference based off of my hip mobility. I can sit more comfortably here and focus on my neck and shoulders a little bit more. So that's up to you. All right, let's get started with the neck car. We are going to slowly tuck the chin down. I want you to think that you're curling all of the cervical vertebrae one at a time. In order to do that, you have to retract backwards a little bit as you curl down. We're going to bring our chin all the way down to our chest as far as we can get. And we will slowly glide the chin across the chest until our chin is over that left shoulder. And then we're going to tilt our ear backwards towards the upper back and form the rainbow across to the other side, slowly looking up at the ceiling. Some people get some closing angle pain in the back of their neck here. If you're feeling that, I just want you to back off and not extend your head as far backwards. Chin is going to come down and land on the right shoulder. Chin comes down to that right shoulder and glides back along the right clavicle till we're back to center. Reverse directions. Chin goes across the right clavicle. As far over that right clavicle to right shoulder as possible. Start tilting our ear backwards towards our back. Enjoying the stretch sensation in the front left part of my neck. And now it's coming towards the center of my neck. And now it's coming towards the right side of my neck. I should have no closing angle pain whatsoever. Chin comes down towards the shoulder. All the way down, touches down on the clavicle, and glides back down to the center. Good. We just did 1 neck car right and 1 neck car left. All right, that's a full rep. Good. We are going to move on to our shoulder blades. I want to go over exactly the motions that the shoulder blades can do. First, we're going to start with our hands out in front of us and our palms facing each other. All right. From this position, we should not see our arms rotate. We should not see a lot of our arms going up or down or our elbows bending because we're trying to move our scapula. All right. So the shoulder blades can do 4 major movements. They can elevate or shrug. They can depress or anti-shrug. Let's come back to neutral. They can protract or spread out. This would cause a reaching forward motion. Or they can retract, and pinch together. This would cause a pulling backward motion. All right. We are now going to take those 4 movements and connect them in a circle, creating a controlled articular rotation. When we're doing this, try to tense and squeeze other muscles in the body so that they stay frozen and tight. You are much better at producing mobility in one area if all of the other areas are stable. Okay? So I'm going to clench my balls a little bit. All right. And we're going to elevate our shoulder blades. Keep them elevate as we protract. Depress the shoulder blades, keeping protraction. Retract the shoulder blades, keeping depression. Elevate the shoulder blades, keeping retraction. One more lap. Protraction. Depression. Retraction. Elevation. Reverse. Retraction. Depression. Protraction. Elevation. Retraction. Depression. Protraction. Elevation. Relax. Nice work. That was our scapular controlled articular rotation. All right. Now we're going to go for a true shoulder joint controlled articular rotation. We're going to do the right side first. This is going to look like palms up. All right. I'm going to slowly come up and across the body as high as I can. From here, I'm going to reach a roadblock where I can't go back any further unless I rotate my shoulder. So I'm going to rotate, keep that elbow locked, reach back behind me. You can now see the ball is facing the wall behind me. And I'm trying to wring out the shoulders, spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it, spin it, really reach, really reach, really reach. Until I come down and my hand is right next to me. You can see that the ball is now pointed away from my body. Let's reverse. Elbows stay straight. Reaching back behind me as far and as high as I can without spinning the arm. Once I reach that roadblock, I have to spin to allow for more range of motion to complete my circle. Look at my ball. It's now pointed up. Coming up next to the ear. Down. And back to where I started. Good. Put that right hand down. Create a little stability here. The left palm faces up. Reach up and across. Reaching, reaching, reaching. And now I hit that roadblock. My arm's got to spin a little bit. I don't have nearly as much range of motion on this left side as I do my right side. And I feel a whole lot of restrictions, but no bad pain. We don't want to feel any bad pain while we're doing this. And our ball comes right next to our hip. My ball is pointed out the window towards Stella. Let's reverse it. Reach as far back as I can. Look at where my ball is pointing. That shows internal rotation of my shoulder. I'm going to come out of that spin into external rotation, right up next to the ear, and back down. Good. We just did one full controlled articular rotation with our true shoulder joint. The last variety of car that I want to do is a capsular car with our shoulders. So we're going to go into our 90-90 position at the shoulder joint and the elbow joint. So my armpits are at 90 degrees. My elbows are at 90 degrees. You see the balls are facing the camera. I'm pinching my shoulders back to create a little scapular retraction. From here, I'm going to do what's called a Cuban rotation or a capsular car, where I'm just rotating the humerus inside the shoulder joint as far as I can go. You'll notice I'm not shrugging when I get to the bottom. I don't want to end up here. Keep those scapula stable. How far down can you get? Try to squeeze more out of it. Slowly rotate back up. Feel those external rotators working. And how far can you rotate backwards? I'm getting a little cramp in my external rotators. That's right behind my shoulder, kind of right behind the armpit. One more time, all the way down. Internally rotate the humerus. How far can you go without shrugging? And externally rotate. All the way back to your full external rotation. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And relax. Good. All right, what we're going to do next is we're going to try to increase our range of motion in horizontal abduction. So what that means is if my hands start together, as I open them up like this is called horizontal abduction. We're going to try to increase the amount of motion that we can get going back behind our body. And here is how we're going to set it up. All right. I'm going to lie flat on the floor. All right. We're all going to work our left arm first. So when I lie flat on the floor, I want my left arm to be at 90-90. It looks like this. I'm lying flat. It's hard for you to see because I'm blocking it, but my left arm is at 90 degrees. My right arm is flat on the floor like a push-up. And from here, I'm going to try to roll over my body until I feel a stretch in the front part of my left shoulder and pec area. Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
Okay. Alexa's got the time for us. We're holding our stretch. We have to keep finding the stretch. Keep doing the stretch. That may mean as you hang out here, you might have to roll a little bit further because your body's getting used to it. It takes skill to find and hold a stretch. Work on that right now. We should be feeling the stretch in the front part of our left shoulder. Also kind of the front pec area. In 2 minutes, we're going to start our PALS and rails activation. The PALS activation is the first activation we're going to do. And what that activation is we're going to try to activate the stretched tissue. That means where I tell you to find the stretch, that front part of the pec and shoulder, we're going to activate it by pressing our arm down into the ground. You should feel that stretched tissue trying to do work. The work it's trying to do is it's trying to push the floor away. Obviously, the floor is not going to go anywhere unless you're the Hulk, but you should still feel that tissue activating, trying to push. All right? Once Alexa gives us the 2 minute timer up, we're going to start that PALS contraction. For right now, just kind of breathe. Keep trying to get a little bit deeper into this passive stretch. I'm going to put my head down. It's a little bit more comfortable. I can still feel that passive stretch. Figure out ways to increase that passive stretch. We should be feeling no closing angle pain behind our left shoulder. We should just be feeling mostly stretch in front of the left shoulder. Alexa, how much time left?
You have less than 10 seconds left on your 2 minute timer.
I'm good with time. Alexa, off. All right, let's start our PALS contraction in 3, 2, 1. Very lightly start to activate that stretched tissue, pressing your arm into the floor. I don't want you pressing with extreme strength. Just press it lightly. Feel it working. Continue holding that contraction as I explain what the next thing we're going to do is. The next thing that we're going to do is called rails. That means that we're going to try to activate the shortened tissue or the closing angle tissue. That means we're going to try to activate the rear part of our shoulder, and we're going to try to pull our arm up off the floor. It is the exact opposite contraction of the one we're doing right now. If you do it correctly, you should cramp in your rear deltoid rotator cuff area.
Let's begin that contraction and release the pals contraction in 3, 2, 1, go. Start off lightly. Start squeezing that rear delt. Think that it's going to make your arm float up off the floor. We're trying to close the back part of our shoulder more. This is where we'll get more into horizontal abduction, or our arm pulling backwards behind our body more. Try to squeeze harder. Make sure you're activating the right area. Keep squeezing. We got 10 more seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax, but do not alter body position. I want you to use your right hand to push deeper into that passive stretch. If you did all of that correctly, you will feel like you can get more range of motion out of that passive stretch. We have just created more mobility for the time being. If you're really serious about more mobility training, you would have to repeat this on a daily basis for whatever specific area you are trying to increase mobility in. We are going to slowly come out of this position. So I'm going to roll back to center. And I'm going to come up to a kneel. And that was a hell of a lot of work on that left side. I just want to integrate it now. So how we're going to do that is we're just going to do more of a gross motion with it. So I'm on all fours, left fingertips on the floor. I'm just going to reach up and try to pull back as far as I can. Tap the floor. 2, 3. At the top, try to squeeze the rails tissue. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Awesome. So the basic gist of how I would organize a routine to increase range of motion in a certain area is I would start off with a controlled articular rotation of all the joints kind of involved in that area so that we're getting a feel of what each individual joint does. That's your intention of a car. Then I would go into pals and rails, which are isometric activations at end ranges, meaning I'm putting my joint into a stretch position, and then I'm activating both sides to help strengthen one side and increase flexibility on the other. After I do my pals and rails, I would do some sort of movement in that direction to kind of tell my joint, hey, this is what I'm going for. All right? You will see that as a common theme over all the stuff that we do. All right? We're going to do pals and rails on our right shoulder now. Okay? I'm going to have my right side facing you now so that you can see what it looks like. I'll still try to be loud and speak towards the camera. All right? So you can see, all right, you can see my right arm. All right, go back to bed. All right, you can see my right arm is at 90 degrees, right? And I'm going to use my left arm to roll and push myself into a stretched position. Alexa, set the timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, starting now.
I lied. Alexa, cancel timer.
20-minute timer canceled.
Alexa, set a timer for 90 seconds.
1 minute and 30 seconds, starting now.
All right, we got our timer set for 90 seconds. We are finding the stretch in the front of our right shoulder. Remember, we want our hand at 90-90. We're working this specific position. You may notice that this position would be different than that straight arm position. All right, I'm working this just because I decided to today. All right, if you have a more specific reason, then you would alter position based off that specific reason. All right. Remember, we talked about keep finding the stretch. It's a skill. So you can have your head rested, you can have it lifted. Whatever is easiest for you to find the stretch, keep finding it. Remember, our first isometric contraction is going to be PALS. That's going to be where I'm pushing down into the floor as if I'm trying to push the floor away from me. My second contraction is going to be rails. That's going to look like I'm trying to lift my arm off of the floor. PALS and rails have one major thing in common. There is no movement to it. So you will not see me move. You will just see me activate and flex muscles. Try not to be impressed. Just kidding. Alexa, how much time left? Yep, there we go. Alexa, cancel timer. All right. Let's slowly start to do our PALS contraction by pressing down into the floor, activating that stretched tissue in front of the right shoulder. I'm feeling it work. I am pressing down. I'm sending signals to it. Keep sustaining that. Try not to press too hard, because the harder that you press, the less specific you will be with your firing pattern. In 10 seconds, we're going to go to our rails contraction. That means I'm going to try to activate this tissue right here, this back part tissue. All right, and it's going to look like I'm trying to pull my arm up off the ground. In 3, 2, 1, here we go. I'm squeezing. I'm trying to close that gap more. I'm trying to lift my arm off. You'll also see that my body rolls a little bit to the right now because I'm squeezing the right scapula too. I'm working hard here, squeezing things as hard as I can, trying to lift that arm off the ground. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and rest. Don't alter body position. Try to roll deeper into that stretch. This is our last passive stretch from this PALS rails position. Breathe. Try to keep sinking deeper. Try to increase the amount of stretch on the front part of the shoulder. And let's slowly roll out of that. Make sure everything feels all right. And then we're going to get into our lifts from here. All right, just to integrate the pattern. Right arm out. Lift, pull as far back as you can, tap. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good work. Nice. All right. Woo, my shoulder's feeling good. Hope yours are too. We are going to get into some hip work now. All right. So if you have a tennis ball or a towel, you can use it here to help make you feel this a little bit more, but it's totally not necessary. Okay. We're going to start off with hip cars from the all fours position. All right, so we're going to kind of go through the same stuff that we just went through. Cars, PALS rails, integrative pattern. All right, but we're going to do it for our hips. So let's start off with cars. I'm going to take the ball and put it behind my knee and squeeze it. That's just going to keep me honest during this, that I'm only moving my hip and not my knee or ankle. All right, so follow along with me. I'm going to teach you the pattern that the hip can do in a controlled articular rotation. We want to shift all of our weight to our left leg. Our right leg is going to be our moving leg. And you can see that my right knee is off the floor. I'm going to start by flexing the hip. So bringing it up towards the elbow. and then horizontally abducting it like a dirty dog. And then internally rotating it, so shoving my heel to the ceiling, and then extending it. And then bringing it back into horizontal adduction, and then back down to neutral. Reverse. Extend so the heel goes up to the ceiling. Drift out into abduction. Externally rotate. Pull it up into flexion as you do that. Back down in towards the center of the other leg and back to flush with the other knee. Good, let's try that one more time, all right? We should be feeling the hip joint working its ass off. This is very hard if you do it correctly. Try not to compensate by bending the elbows. Try not to compensate by shaking the hips. All right? Nice and strict. Focus on the right hip only. We are up into flexion. Out into horizontal abduction. Twist into internal rotation of that femur and up into extension. Bring it back into horizontal adduction and back into flexion. Reverse. Extend up towards the ceiling, clench the butt, out into abduction, externally rotate, up into flexion, back down, right next to the other leg. Good work. If you did that correctly, you should feel your hips, all right? Let's switch sides. I'm going to take the ball, put it back behind my knee. Again, that object can be a towel or really anything, and to start off, you don't even need it, okay? All right, from here, shift the weight onto the right leg. Our left knee is our left hip is our moving hip. Let's come into flexion, out into horizontal abduction, twist internal rotation, extend. Across back to adduction, into flexion. Oh, I'm cramping. Oh, woo. Oh, right in that hamstring. That's what should happen if you're squeezing your hip hard enough. You start getting cramps on closing angles. That is a good thing. All right, let's reverse it. Go back up into extension. Clench the butt. Out into horizontal abduction. Then we are rotating externally. Up into flexion. Back down into adduction. Back to flush. One more lap. Forward. Into flexion. Horizontal abduction. Internally rotate. Drive up into extension, across into adduction. That's where the cramping happens. Oh. Back down, reverse. Drive that heel to the sky, extension. Drift out into horizontal abduction. Externally rotate. Up towards the elbow, into flexion. Flush into the center with the other leg. Good work. Those are our quadruped cars for our hip joint. All right. I want to go into capsular cars for the hip joint, just like we did with our shoulders. From the straddle position. All right. So again, first time in this position, you can raise your butt up, whether that be like on a chair or just on some blocks or a pillow, whatever's best for you. But what I want you to be able to do, how you're going to figure out what's best for you, is right now I'm hunched over. All right. If I can't put my hands down and lift my chest up and kind of hold this position with my hands, then I'm too low. And if this is really hard for me to hold my position with my hands, I'm still too low. All right. I can sit upright in this position without any hands. My hips are definitely working to do that, but I can maintain this proper position for a little bit before I fatigue and hunch over. So we want to be able to maintain the upright position. Whether that means you have to lean back and use the hands a little bit, that's fine, but don't do this from this hunched over position. All right, it won't be nearly as effective. So let's sit up nice and straight. I'm going to use my hands. I'm in my wide straddle, and I am going to rotate the hips inward. So you see my knees kind of come inward and my toes come inward. And I'm going to rotate outward. You see my knees go outward. This is called an axial rotation. It's kind of a variety of a capsular car. And if you think my leg is an axle rod, I'm keeping my knee and ankle locked. And I am just rolling it in and out of the hip joint like that. All right. Let's just keep rolling. Alexa, set a timer for 1 minute. Alexa, set a timer for 1 minute.
1 minute, starting now.
I hate it when she doesn't listen. Good. Try not to focus on like speed or how many reps you're getting in. Try to focus on getting further each rotation. So I'm actively trying to rotate further externally right now. And I'm slowly and through tension going to actively try to rotate further into internal rotation. If you do internal rotation rate, it's very easy to feel cramp right in your hip pocket. That's how you'll know you're doing it right. And if you do external rotation right, you should feel your butt activate, and it almost feels like you're lifting your butt up off the ground. But in reality, you're just clenching your gluteus maximus to help with that. Internal rotation, external rotation. Internal rotation, external rotation. Alexa, timer off. And we can come out of that. Nice work. I am going to scooch back against my credenza so that my back is right up against it. All right. If you can't find a wall or something to put your back up against, that's fine. All right. It just might make this a little bit more difficult, but we're going to go into a butterfly position. All right. And I'm actually going to elevate my butt here too, so I can get more effect out of it. So again, just these small changes are based off of personal things that I know to be true about my hips. And I have a very difficult time sitting on the floor and feeling my hips because my back takes over. And practicing this mobility stuff, you'll realize kind of what your limiting factors are. So whether you're sitting on the floor, whether you're sitting on an elevated surface like blocks or a pillow, and whether or not you have any kind of back support, our goal is going to be in this butterfly position, heels close to our crotch. Arms are going to be out on top of our knees. And I am going to try to sit up nice and straight and almost stick my chest and belly out to the camera. And from here, I'm going to start to deep belly breathe. And I'm going to allow the weight of my arms to push my knees open, increasing the amount of stretch my groin feels. Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, starting now.
All right. Pals Rails time. Our protocol, 2-minute passive stretch. Passive stretch means that gravity is helping me pull my body into a position, or that another limb, in this case my arms, are pushing me into a specific position. So My arm should be pushing my hips down and open while gravity is pulling my hips down and open. This is a true passive stretch. We focus on relaxed breathing in our passive stretch, and we focus on just with each exhale, we're getting a little bit further into the stretch. This should be relatively easy stretch to find and maintain. Keep holding it there. Keep breathing, keep allowing your body to get deeper as I explain PALS and RAILs here, our isometric contraction. Remember, the PALS contraction, or our first contraction, is always an activation of the stretched tissue. So that would mean in here, that's what I'm activating. The RAILs contraction is always an activation of the contracted tissue. So for this, that would mean the tissue on the outer part of my hips. Okay? So when I tell you to start your PALS contraction, the thing that you're thinking about is closing your legs. But we know a PALS contraction is an isometric and there's no movement to it. So my arms are keeping them wide open. Alexa, how much time left on our timer?
You have less than 10 seconds left on your 2-minute timer.
I'm good. Alexa, cancel timer. Okay. Let's slowly and lightly start our PALS contraction. Activate your groin and inner thigh muscles by trying to close your knees and press them up into your forearms. Keep squeezing. Keep activating them. How much pressure can you do while still being specific about what tissue you're activating? Feel it in the groin. Feel it pressing up into your arms. Keep holding that. In about 10 seconds, we're going to try to do our RAILs contraction. What should happen here is I should feel a lightening of the pressure between my arms and my thighs. If I do it really well, I may actually be able to pull my thighs off of my arms by activating the tissue on the outer part of the hip. Let's try that in 5, 4, 3, 2, and go. RAILs contraction. I'm trying to pull those knees down, I have some separation, not a true isometric, but still okay. I am feeling these muscles out here, which you can't really see. Open the book more. I am feeling more stretch in here. That's what I should be feeling. This is called an active stretch because the muscles on the other side of the joint are causing stretch in the open side of the joint. That's how we want our body to function at all times. Squeeze, keep squeezing that RAILs contraction, keep squeezing that RAILs contraction. When I tell you to, you're going to stop contracting all muscles of the hip and you're going to put your arms back down. 3, 2, 1. Don't alter body position. Just replace the passive structure, in this case our arms, to hold that stretch. And breathe. This is the final and most important part of our PALS RAILs protocol, is the passive stretch at the end of our work. Okay? This is allowing us to get used to this new range of motion that we just opened up, allowing us to tell our nervous system that it's okay to be here. And then the next time we come back to this, we hopefully have a 1/2 millimeter more of motion to keep expanding upon. That is the importance of doing this often. Consistency is key with anything, especially mobility. We're going to slowly come out of this position, and we're going to make sure our hips still work. I just kind of like to shake them out. All right. Wiggle them back and forth. Make sure that's all good. We got our last few minutes of class here to help integrate that new range of motion into our hips. So I want to do that with just a 90-90 switch. All right. So the 90-90 position is a difficult position. And you'll know that you shouldn't necessarily be in it if you feel any pinching in the hips in this position. All right. If you do, I invite you to take a block or a pillow and stick it under the front leg. Okay. I don't need that, so I'm not going to use it. All right. But what we're going to do is, without hands on the ground, we're going to try to hold this position and slowly flip our position. And flip. How far can you spin? Come on back. How far can you spin? You'll notice yourself scooching along the ground a little bit. That's okay. I'm just going to adjust myself so I stay in the screen. Take it nice and slow. Feel the hips working here to keep you upright. And you can kind of push range of motion. See where you can send your body. See what positions your hip feels strong enough to hold your body in. If you absolutely need your hands on the ground, you can do that. This would be a little modification. Just feel and sense what parts of your hips are stretching. This is a complex move that we'll revisit at some point with a little bit more intention. But right now, we are at the point where we are just trying to integrate into a larger pattern. Okay? Good. You can rest. That was our 90-90 switch at the end there. And that was our day today, folks. Great work. We covered a basic protocol that can be used for any area of the body that you want to increase mobility in. And it is one that I use often. And that's kind of how we'll be moving forward in this class, where we do our cars for an area. We do our pails, rails, and then we'll do some integrative, more full body general movement stuff. All right. Great work today. Thanks for coming in. Enjoy the rest of your day. That's my dog.